We are in Photoshop Project 1, Composite Movie Ad. We're in Stage 3, Creating Complex Selections. Right now we've got all the parts that we need to create our ad, but what we have is a mishmash. Everything is just stacked one on top of the other, and things block other items. We want to get this to be a more comprehensive, well-arranged layout, so we are going to work with a layer at a time, and we're working with making more complex selections than what we have already. We're going to select the lightning layer, and we want to see just it. So if you click on the eye icon holding down your Alt key, you're going to isolate that lightning layer, and we're going to remember this is a smart object, so we are going to double click that to open up the lightning file. We can see that this is a JPEG file and it only has the single layer. It's a flat file. We are going to apply some transparencies, which we aren't going to be able to do in a JPEG file. This is just to show you that you could access the file from within the other one. We want to make a transparent area around the actual lightning bolt. And since flat files like the JPEG don't support transparency, we can make the transparency in this file. Control right click the lightning layer name in the layers panel and choose rasterize layer, which is going to sever the tie as a smart object. We in effect change this from a smart object to an embedded object. And now if you double click this, you no longer get the link, you just get layer styles that come up, and now we can make changes to this layer separate from anything that we could do with that JPEG. Now we're going to pick up our lasso tool. There are three different kinds of lasso tools. There's the regular lasso, the polygonal lasso, and the magnetic lasso. We're going to use the regular lasso, and you're just going to make a rough selection around the lightning. So just kind of click and drag and just pick this up, and you need to connect the two ends, and you'll get this lovely little item up here about select and mask, which we can worry about later. With our marching ants, which means we have this item selected or this area selected, we're going to go to Select, Modify Feather. We have several other selections. You can read about them on the bottom of page 65. For our purposes right now, we are going to use a soft feather. So we want to have a 35 pixel feather and click OK. Now we're going to select at the bottom of the tool panel, Edit in Quick Mask mode, which is going to show us the area with a red overlay, which is our alpha channel overlay. It's a semi-transparent overlay, so we can see what's on the underlying image, so we can see our slight feathering that we have. You can turn this back, click that off, so that we're back into standard mode, and go to Select and select Inverse. We want to remove the area around the lightning, so we have to select everything except what we originally selected, and we're going to actually just hit Delete, or you can hit Backspace and make that go away. You can now go to Select and Deselect, which is Control D, and we no longer have our marching ants, but we have turned this now into just that section of the image left. We have a very soft fade to the deleted area. Another selection option is selecting a color range. We're next going to work with the skyline, so let's turn our skyline on and turn off our lightning. Make sure that the skyline is the active layer. We are picking up our magic wand tool. It will be the next tool under the lasso tool, and we are going to try setting some selection options we want to make sure that we have the new selection checked, and we're going to set our tolerance to 32. It's an easy way to select large areas of solid color. We have the tolerance, which gives us a degree of variation in the color. You can get a very mottled background if you don't have the tolerance correct. So actually, I want to show you what happens if I do a tolerance of about 20 and I come in here on the skyline layer and I click. I'm going to get a bit of an issue. You can see there's some problems down in this area in particular and right around in here. If I select those areas, I'm not going to get this area up in here. Now I can do add to selections and I can keep going on that, but if I add to a selection and I click up top, I may or may not get the entire selection. Actually, for this, I think this is a darn good selection and I would go with it. But it also does not give me the transparent areas that are right in here. There's some issues with the towers and things like that, and we could actually maybe do a little bit better than that. So we are going to deselect again, Control D to deselect, and this time I am going to go to select and I am going to select by color range. Now when you select by color range, you are actually picking up by the color itself. Now this is already set up for me, so I've kind of got ahead on this by doing this beforehand. When you first go in, you want to make your selection preview to be a white matte so you can see what you're picking up and what you're not. You start with a little bit lower fuzziness, about of 25, somewhere in through there. And make sure that the localized color clusters is not selected. If you do that, you're going to just get some really bizarre selections. So turn that off, and you're going to click to in somewhere in the blue area. Wherever you click, you're going to get a variation of what happened, but we don't have enough picking up with our fuzziness, which is the same as tolerance, very similar to it, of 25. We need to increase this, and the recommendation is actually for 80, but I found out that if I take this all the way up to 80, I start to lose chunks of the city scene itself. So I'm going to actually make a preference to keep more of the city and kind of dodge that down a little bit. You can make your own judgment call on this. We're also going to be able to go in and pick up some additional colors. So at this point, when I select my add to color here and I pick up a different color area, I can pretty much get all of this sky picked up. The top is still not quite done. I don't know if it'll show in the video. I've got a little like a pink color up there, but by clicking on that, I'm getting that pretty well picked up. There's a couple of oddball places in here where I have black, where I can see that that is masked. And by the way, I'm actually showing you this in the wrong selection because I've got this inverted already, and I really want to be going this direction on it so I can show you all of the blue that I've got. And here again, you're able maybe better to see in here that I've got sections of the city that are actually picked. I think for most of what we're doing, that isn't really going to be an issue. I could actually go in here and try deselecting those color ranges by doing a minus to it. I may be able to lose some of that. I think it's too much within the color range that I'm looking for. Oh yes, and then I see by doing that selection out, I'm picking up a fuzzier area up here. So I need to add those back in and make a nice clean color area selection. I might pick this up a little bit more and scroll back to the top and see if there's anything else that's not clear. Okay, now I'm going to go back in and invert this and see how clean this area it is, and it looks pretty good. I see mostly white up there, and I've got a fair amount of gray still coming through on the tower there. I can actually see some writing on the sign over there. So I'm going to actually say okay to this right now. I have a pretty good selection going. I think it's going to work. You can actually go in now with your magic wand tool and you can add to the selection. Make sure you select subtract from selection. Now that we have this, we're going to put a layer mask on here. And that is simply going to mask out all of the sky. We needed that removed. We've added our mask. Now the mask, you can actually go in, let me right click on this, we can disable it. You can see that the pixels are all still there. We could apply the layer mask, which would make that layer mask disappear and all of the pixels disappear. I'm going to undo that, Control Z, and I am going to enable my layer mask again, because that way I have not deleted the pixels, I simply have them hidden. We want to go into our channels right now, and we can see the skyline mask, and we want to make that visible. And here again you can see our red mask. We have to turn on a layer mask so that we can see it. We can actually paint a mask without seeing it, but sometimes it's easier to see what you're working on. We're painting the visibility, not really painting anything shape, size, color wise. We're just painting visibility. We want to double click the skyline mask thumbnail. Change the opacity value to 100% so that you can see what you're doing. And you see how bright red that is. You can also see that there's some pink areas now down at the bottom. We can now pick up a brush and we can actually clear up any issues that we're having. So I'm going to select a brush. Oh, there it is. Select the brush tool, and we'll pick up just a nice size brush that's perfectly good. We want to have black and white, our default colors. When you paint with black, you are painting out areas. When you paint with white, you are painting the transparency out. So as you can see in the thumbnail, black means it's going to have a transparency, white means it doesn't. We need to bring back some of these problem issues here in the city. So you can paint over anything that's got that pink, so you can bring that back in. We could actually go to a larger brush now and paint the city areas back into our mask that are making holes, basically, because the colors were too similar to the sky. Likewise, if there is an area that shows up white up top, you can go in and with black, cancel that. Let me swap this over and let me show you what happens if I paint in here. I can paint this out. The great thing about this is that I can, it's not working. I can come back in and I can paint again, and I can bring back any item that is painted out incorrectly. So it's a nice way of working. Oh, there's an issue right there. I want to bring part of that back. It's a nice way of making corrections because you're not permanently deleting anything. You're just hiding it and revealing it.